Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. In this video, what I want to do is just kind of talk a little bit about um, the event object and keyboard events, and just talk about like if you wanted to use the keyboard to trigger things. Like let's say you're making like a browser-based game and you want like the person to be able to jump and move left and right, and you want to use the keyboard keys to trigger an event. Let's talk about that. So what I'm going to do is create a new HTML project. So I'm just going to create a new folder. So we'll call this events, and in this folder we will create a file called index.html. I will use Emmet to do the exclamation point and put in my boilerplate, and then I'm going to use script tags so I can lay out a place to write some JavaScript. So again, script tags are not only for linking JavaScript files, but you can actually literally write JavaScript within a script tag. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to, we'll create an H1 that says hello world, just to kind of demonstrate how an event works. So hello world. So first thing we would ever want to do is just kind of grab that H1. So I'm going to say const H1, that's a variable. And using document.querySelector, I can then select that H1 and save it in a variable. So I'll say, hey, grab me the first H1 in the DOM. There's only one H1, so it's going to grab that one. Okay, if I want to be really specific about grabbing that specific H1, I could give this H1 an ID. I could say, hey, give this H1 an ID of heading, and then instead just say, hey, grab me the H1 with the ID of H1. I mean, the ID of heading. Okay, and that's going to grab this element, because this is the element with the ID of heading stored in the variable. Okay, so point is that's how I grab the variable. Now that I have the H1, I can now add an event listener to it. So this is basically saying, hey, listen for something that's going to happen. So first we'll just start off with a click. And then we write a function. So basically the way this reads is that whenever this event happens, someone clicks on the H1, this function will run. Now, when the browser runs this function for you, it always passes it what's called the event object. It's an object that just has all the details about the thing that just happened. So always a good thing to do is just kind of console.log the event and see what kind of information you're getting. So there's our code. Now what I'm going to do is let's run this with live server. So this will get opened up in a browser. Let me open up the DevTools. Control-Shift-I. I'm going to go to the console. So let's right now you don't see anything. But if I click on the hello world, there we see the event object being console logged. So it tells us one thing right off the bat, that it's a mouse event. Okay, so we know it's a mouse event, meaning something that the mouse did. So it gives us information about like whether like the Alt key was touched. Bubbling, I'm not going to talk about bubbling right now. It just means that if you have like multiple elements piled on top of each other, that triggering an event on one could trigger the event on another. So again, this is like if the control key has been pushed. So for example, let's say I hold down the control key. So right now you see control key is false, and you see alt key is false. I'm going to hold down both, and then I'm going to click. Let's see if that makes a difference. So let's go down. Now we have another mouse event. So let me just close up this one. And let's see here. See, in this case, alt key is true because I was holding down alt when I clicked. So if you really wanted to make it where someone had to like hold alt and then click on something for something to happen, you could do that because you could just write like an if statement. If alt key is true, then do X thing. Okay, so you can see like the exact point on the screen where someone clicked. So that way you could like use it to track. Like sometimes you'll see things where like things track the mouse. So they'll use those coordinates. There's another like coordinate version. The target. Now the target is always just like the thing that was the subject. So since I clicked on the H1, that's what's the target. And I can actually access that individual DOM element from here. So now I can access all the properties of that H1 right here. That's very useful. Because you can make generic, you can add the same function to lots of different items on the DOM, and since you're always working off the target, it'll always work off that specific thing. So like for example, let's do this. Okay, let's say I had 3 H1s. Let's change this to class. Okay, so Control C. Okay, so I have 3 H1s, all with the same class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of them. So what I'm going to do is use query selector all, because that's going to give me back an array of DOM nodes. And I want to grab the ones with the class of heading. So that'd be a dot for a class. So that should get me the array. So instead of adding this event listener here, what I want to do is, since H1 is an array, I want to do like I want to loop over this array. So for each, okay, and then we'll just say each node in there, because that's what each thing is. Okay, so for each node in the array, I'm going to add an event. Node.event event listener. It's going to happen when it's clicked. And again, I passed the if function, so there's the event. And what I can do now is I can say event.target, that's whichever one I clicked on. And I can say event.target.inner text equals goodbye. Cool. So now the event listener is going to be on all 3 of these H1s. And if I click on one of them, it changes to goodbye. But notice, it knows which one I clicked on, because since I'm using the target, the event.target is always going to be the one that I clicked on. So it's changing and altering the one that I clicked on. And since I looped the nodes, each one has the event listener attached to it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I could also do this. I could say, instead of doing this whole for each, I could just attach the event to the whole window. So the window represents the entire browser window. So I can say window.add event listener, and then say, okay, whenever I click on anything in the browser, do the thing, event, and then say event.target.innerText equals I've been clicked. So the event is now not attached to each individual H1, it's attached to the window. But if I click anywhere in the window, so let's go over here, I should have the same effect. Let's see. I've been clicked. I've been clicked. I've been clicked. So I've only added the event listener once, but what happens is that when even though the event is on the window, when I clicked directly on the H1, so the H1 is the target. Okay? And that's cool. Okay? You can kind of do a lot of stuff with that. So I can attach events to the window. Now let's talk about like keyboard events. So if I say something like, instead of a click, I do key up. Okay, so that means, oh, actually let's do key down. So that's when I push down on the key. I can do event. Let's just console log the event first and see what happens. Okay, so anytime, so it's the event listener is on the window, so it'll listen to anytime I type anything while the window's open. Nope, not there. Might have the wrong event type there. So let's see here, keyboard events. I want to look at the W3 school one real quick. Yeah, know that. Oh, on. Oh no, you would just write key. Oh, no uppercasing. Okay, so key down. You don't write the on here. You just write the part after the on. Cool. So now let's try it out. And there you go. See, there's the keyboard event. And then I can see that the code is key E. Now if I do another one, I need to be in the window. And then I go back down here. The code is key R. So I know it's the R key. And see, the key tells me this more specific, like the value. So key, code is like which key, or like the code. Again, if the alt key has been pushed. What else can we find here? Location, key code. That's like the actual, like, I think it's like the UTF-8 or Unicode key number. If the shift key was being pushed. Cool. So let's try doing something. Let's say if event.key equals P, alert, you pushed P. Okay, so this is kind of like how you do like keyboard shortcuts on your website. So now if I type in most letters, nothing happens, because again, I don't have anything for most letters. But if I type in the letter P, you pushed P. Now let's make it where I have to push Shift P. Okay, and for that, let me first console log the event object again to get that property. Pretty sure it was like Shift key, but never hurts to check. So console.log the event again. First I'll hit P. Trigger that again. Okay, so it's Alt key, Control key, and Shift key. Okay, so I'll get rid of that console.log. I'm going to say whenever the event key is P and event.shift key equals true, which actually I could have just done event.shift key, but whatever. You pushed Shift P. Okay, and now wait, does it not like that? Did I get rid of too many? Oh, I got rid of too much code earlier. There we go. I only wanted to get rid of this line. Okay, so we'll just say this and event.shift key. So both have to be true. You pushed P and shift. So now if I go here, if I push P, nothing happens. But if I hold down the shift key and push P, oh wait, I'm pushing in the, okay, so I'm in the window, P, 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 and I hold down shift and P. That didn't quite work. Why not? Event.shift key equals true. Nope, that is not working. So what I'm going to do is remove this real quick. And I'm going to add a console log of the event here. So if I hit P, okay, I have P. Now let me just take a look at that, how that was spelled. Shift key. And if I do Shift P, or Shift P, in that case it doesn't, but if I do P by itself, okay, so then that begs another test. So let's hit Control X, P, save. So if I hit Shift P, what do I get? Where's my code here? Console.log event. Oops, I put the console log outside the wrong place. I want that console log here. There we go. Shift P. Oh, because you get uppercase P. Durr. That's right. And then Alt P. And there you go. See, it's Alt. Oh, but you actually end up getting Alt left when you do Alt P, which makes sense. And then so there, the key would be Alt. But yeah, you guys get the idea. So that's kind of how like keyboard events work, and you can do keyboard shortcuts and how events work in general. Events are fun. Events are cool. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day and enjoy.